What is good, YouTube? Warstu here with a video on Phase 4 and the future of MCU going forward. So we are pretty much done with Endgame on this channel. There isn't really much more to do, but of course there will be more theories and stuff etc. regarding Endgame if any news comes out based on what we want to cover. So there's been some major leaks for Phase 4 and Phase 5, I guess you could say, but you just got to take it with a pinch of salt. So according to these sources, these would line up really. So according to this is the lineup for the next phase of movies. So the Black Widow movie, we know that's coming. The Eternals, we know that's coming. Black Panther 2, we know that's coming. Shang-Chi, we know that's coming. Doctor Strange 2, we know that's coming. Nova is on this list. Unofficially, Kevin Feige's spoken about it, but not officially. So it pretty much is going to be coming because also the directors of Endgame, I know they were irrelevant to do with anything Phase 4, but they have also mentioned Nova and mentioned James Gunn having the opportunity to introduce Nova in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Then it says Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 are in active development and there are plans for Thor 4. Now this does line up because obviously Chris Hemsworth signed a new contract for Infinity War and for Endgame and for more movies, so that obviously will be happening. Ant-Man 3 is on this list. Michael Douglas did actually mention that unofficially there has been talks about Ant-Man 3, so that one lines up. Captain Marvel 2, that one also does line up. Why? Because obviously she's got a contract for 6 to 7 movies and she's only done 1 solo movie and she appeared in Endgame, so that's 2 out of possible 7. So that is definitely going to be happening in the future. The new Avengers, yes, sure, that will happen. At some point they're going to have to form a new team around the new Avengers and some of the previous Avengers that do make it into Phase 4. The Young Avengers, I do believe that will be happening because they did kind of set it up with Cassie Lang and a few others during Endgame. And the Dark Avengers will be happening. So if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the pop culture based videos. So we've got a bunch of details about the Phase 4 TV shows, and a lot of it has been lining up with other information that we've been told quite recently, so a lot of it does actually make sense. So it said this was posted over a week ago now, so it is pretty cool because some of this has already come out. So it said the Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye are being developed for the Disney Plus, but the characters will still be featured in movies, which is interesting. But the next line is actually pretty interesting because it also does line up with something that Kevin Feige said. It said X-Men and the Fantastic Four would not appear until Phase 5, which would make sense. A phase generally would last 2 to 3 years. Kevin Feige did actually say that the X-Men will not be coming for at least 5 years, so that actually would line up. There won't be another decade spanning overarching storylines like the Infinity Saga, but there are overarching mini arcs spanning 3 to 6 movies. I feel like that would be a much better story arc because although everyone said like Thanos was built up over 10 years, was he really? I mean, yeah, obviously he was, but they didn't really show much. There will be a clearer divide between grounded MCU and the cosmic MCU going forward, having each their own core cast, specific tones and overarching storylines, which is good because obviously if you're going to have Spider-Man, you can't have Spider-Man set in the same tone as Captain Marvel or the Guardians, although it would be pretty cool to see Spider-Man and Captain Marvel actually team up one day. That would be pretty cool. So the next bit, yeah, I mean, we've said this a bunch of times already on the channel. Norman Osborn will be the main grounded MCU villain and is expected to appear in several movies provided Marvel and Sony's can renegotiate their contract. So obviously Sony and Marvel have to come to a new agreement. Obviously Amy Pascal, apparently she's still going to have stuff to do with Spider-Man. Not really sure. She's moved over to Universal. That would help Marvel in the sense of the Hulk, but not so much Spider-Man. So obviously if they are planning to set up the Sinister Six and Dark Avengers, Norman Osborn would have to appear at some point. It's been highly rumored and speculated that it will be Norman Osborn who buys the Avengers Towers and will turn it into Oscorp right in the end of the post-credit scene in Spider-Man Far From Home. So if they are planning to do that, they're going to have to sign a complete new contract that allows the MCU to still take control of Spider-Man movies so they can build up a Sinister Six. As we know, we are definitely getting Spider-Man 3, which will be coming after Far From Home. Chris Hemsworth renewed his contract for several Marvel movies and is expected to appear in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and 4 Thor. Well, yeah, I do think that will be true because of the way they set Endgame up and ended it. But I don't really think they're going to change the name to Asgardians of the Galaxy, because it's a franchise called Guardians of the Galaxy. So I think that's just a throwaway line which comes from the comic book at the end of it. And Thor 4, although Taika Waititi said he'll be up for it, and Thor did, there's no official news about that. But Valkyrie kind of, in real life, Tessa Thompson did indicate that potentially that could be true going forward. The next one is pretty interesting that I didn't see coming. If this is true, Chris Pratt also has several movies left in his contract and is expected to continue, even though Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is intended to be the final team's appearance. So yeah, that is true. They're expected to retcon the Guardians if they go forward with that franchise and reboot it. But it would be interesting to see where Star-Lord would appear. Now, this is where things get interesting. So the Eternals. Richard Manning, I believe that's how you say it, aka Rob Stark, supposedly is playing the main star of the Eternals movie that will be the pivotal cosmic MCU movie that is going to be set hundreds of thousands of years in the past. I mean, reports and rumors have been going around about that for such a long time. There is so many reports about this Eternal movies. There's a massive casting list that consists of the main villain being Keanu Reeves. Angelina Jolie apparently is linked to it, Luke Evans, and even Millie Bobby Brown, although she's linked to absolutely everything. She's in the Godzilla movie that's coming out quite soon, and also Stranger Things Season 3. So it will be very interesting, and apparently young Odin will actually be in that movie. So that is pretty interesting if that turns out to be true. So Black Panther 2, Killmonger will appear in a spiritual plane, apparently. I mean, that would make a lot of sense, and they wouldn't really be bringing him back. The Queen Divide Justice will also feature and be a pivotal political part of that movie. That also would make a lot of sense. So this bit here kind of corresponds to something that came out recently when Kevin Feige said the Mandarin will appear, yes. So obviously, you know, Shang-Chi's father can't appear in the MCU due to Marvel not owning the character from a movie rights point of view. So all they have to do is retcon it and make the Mandarin Shang-Chi's father. Then, in theory, they could get him in the movie as the main villain, so to speak. That would be pretty decent if they were to do that. So WandaVision. Now, this is a pretty interesting alleged storyline. Vision gets rebuilt, and why didn't they do that during Endgame? I mean, why wait till after Endgame? But it actually doesn't state when it's really set. Wanda tries to give him a soul, and he instead gets possessed by a dark force. Allegedly, it's more of a psychological thriller with a 90s, 50s aesthetic. So that's not saying it's set in the 1950s. That's just saying the appearance, the aesthetics is the 1950s, which could apply either and or which way, but it's not really that clear. Wanda and Vision end up living in the suburbs where the neighborhood is racist against Wanda's robo-sexuality, which I presume, because obviously Vision's technically AI, is a robot, so it's kind of weird. The witch Harkness might appear. That would also be very interesting. So there isn't really much official news about the Loki TV show that's going to be on the Disney Plus streaming service. But it says here that it's going to be essentially an anthology on how Loki shaped human history, historical events. That would be pretty cool if that is the case, although I really hope it's a bit more interesting than Loki's past. But you don't know. I mean, I presume it's not just going to get one season. There will be multiple seasons, so I presume they'll have to kick into it quite slow. So Hawkeye is also rumored to be getting a TV show, although it's not officially verified by anyone official at Marvel yet, I don't believe. Hawkeye has to come out of retirement again, you know, as he always does, when troublemaker Kate Bishop begins running around claiming to be the new Hawkeye and gets into trouble with the mob. Ends up training her to take his place. Supernatural mobster, the Hood, and Hawkeye's evil brother, Trickshot, might appear. So that is the kind of news that pretty much is golden about the Disney streaming services and what could be possibly happening in Phase 4 and Phase 5, as it does make a lot of sense. There is also something I'm going to go over, but this is really skeptical, so take it with a pinch of salt, because it kind of goes on the opposite threat. So it is a Reddit post. The other one wasn't a Reddit post, so it's got more validity behind it. So it says this: they confirmed films so far. The titles have definitive meanings and their titles. Spider-Man Far From Home, but then it's a bit skeptical, guys, because it says MCU Phase 4 completely leaked, but a lot of people seem to think Spider-Man Far From Home is part of Phase 4 when it's not. The Eternals, Black Widow and the Hawkeye, Master of Kung Fu, Captain Marvel, Future Fights, Doctor Strange, The Illuminati. I don't really think they're going to call it Illuminati. Black Panther, Kingdom Threatened. As Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I don't think it's going to be called that. And Avengers Reassemble. Now, the Avengers won't have another movie for many years yet, to be honest. So, let's read it. After Avengers Endgame, the Phase division in the MCU will be broken into 2 categories, urban and cosmic, and will, with the introduction of the multiverse, the Fantastic Four and Dr. Destiny will be the main links between these categories. I do agree that they're going to have a ground in cosmic. I don't agree that the Fantastic Four are going to appear so fast. Films will not always follow a chronological line. Some will be prequels like the Black Widow and the Hawkeye, and the Eternals, and others will be flash forwards. Spider-Man Far From Home will introduce the multiverse and the main arc of the urban category. Yeah, I mean, parts of this could be true, but parts of this are very far-fetched. The great villain of the urban arc will be Norman Osborn, defined until the end of the saga. The great arcs for the new cycle will be Dark Avengers, Dark Reign, and Sage. I mean, yeah, Dark Avengers have been rumored for such a long time. Asgardian of the Galaxy Volume 3 will set the cosmic category, and there are plans to introduce Beta Ray Bill. I mean, the fact that it says Bill Beta Ray, it's Beta Ray Bill, not Bill. I mean, that could be just some typo. And the High Evolutionary into the film, and will be introducing, I mean, this bit here gets a bit ridiculous. Galactus will be the main cosmic villain, as Norman Osborn will be the urban level 1. That's really where it goes for me. Skrulls will be a regular threat to the urban characters, and the Secret Invasion arc will be the main story of the category. I don't really think that will happen. Master of the Kung Fu will be departed from the usual CGI of science fiction. Instead, we will try to honor the classic martial arts films of the 60s and 70s. Yeah, that's kind of expected. Spider-Man Far From Home, important arc, and it is estimated that he will have 4 films instead of 3, but there is nothing guaranteed. We are building the Sinister Six. I've said that multiple times. Players like Keaton and Jake Gyllenhaal to play the leaders of each group. It will be easier said than done. I mean, whether they can actually get another Spider-Man film is part of if they can get the contract. Now, Annihilus will be introduced at some point as the main villain. I don't really believe that. Doctor Strange the Illuminati will feature Atlantis and Namor as a villain obsessed with destroying the surface. Black Panther Kingdom Threatened will introduce Doctor Doom. The fact that it says Doctor Doom here and it said Dr. Destiny up the top, there is either a lot of typos or it's just nonsense, but we might as well go over it. Who will probably be trying to dominate Wakanda alongside Namor. I mean, maybe not, we don't know. This is where it gets a bit convoluted. There are no plans to introduce Miles Morales at any time soon after the success of Spider-Man Into Spideyverse. There will be a deal for Sony to keep them. While Marvel will have the exclusive rights over Peter, the general trend is for them to seek out unknown actors for their heroes. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Fantastic Four will feature Reed Richards. Well, it can't really function without Reed Richards. Already empowered, coming from a different universe, uniting the group we know to help back into this universe. Negative Zone Kang Conqueror will be introduced. No, I don't really believe that. I don't really believe a lot of this. I think some of it could be true. The bits where we said we go to Reddit, it's a bit more skeptical. Captain Marvel's Future Fight will try to explain better the parallel realities and the alternate realities. Ronan may appear, so the movie will be a prequel. As Kevin Feige said, there are big plans for Captain Marvel, and they will market it just as the Iron Man was marketed. So guys, let me know what you think about this bit here. I don't really believe the Reddit stuff, but the bit about all the Phase 4 TV shows that are going to be on Disney streaming service, I believe them. But it would be interesting to see Galactus come through. But I don't believe that's going to happen for at least 3 to 5 years at earliest, because they obviously have to introduce a bunch of other stuff. Galactus is more of a world eater, so it doesn't really make much sense for him to randomly appear unless something dramatic happens, or unless Galactus was woken up during Avengers Endgame. We do actually have a second channel. It's Warstu Vlogs. If you are interested, check it out. It is in the featured tab on the YouTube channel, the recommended channels. It would be cool if you could join us over there. We just hit 300 subscribers and we will be posting the first video very soon. It's going to be very different to this channel. But like always, guys, let me know. It is a leak, so take it with a pinch of salt. But you guys kind of like this stuff, so I'm going over it for you guys. I don't really think there's much validity to kind of saying that Doctor Doom's come in and Galactus. They're not going to introduce all these characters so soon. Feige's already said that. But we will find out more official news at San Diego Comic-Con in July, which is pretty soon, actually. So like always, guys, please like, subscribe, and comment. And I will catch you in that next video very soon. Catch ya later.